Last night's AEW Dynamite was not the best episode in AEW Dynamite history, but in my useless opinion, I thought it flew by. There was a lot to enjoy, but once again, the star of the show was Britt Baker and her shenanigans. She stole the bloody show once again, so she did. And imagine saying that a few short months ago. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. One of the most effective heel turns in recent pro wrestling history. Fantastic stuff from the good doctor once again. But I am Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com. You may or may not might be a sexual wank pheasant, and here are all the WTF moments from this week's AEW Dynamite. Hit the intro, you prick! WTF! But I'm going to make a bit of a collective WTF moment, pulling in a few moments from throughout the night, last night, as AEW, right, they nailed several debuts.
The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh.
We have come a hell of a long way since the days of the Butcher and the Blade rocking up in AEW, and Jim Ross sat there going, who the hell are they? We get to Anna Jay's first big proper bells and whistles. Here she is, announcing herself on the big stage debut, and AEW did a wonderful job with this, in my opinion, because with the little promo package that aired before the match, they made you think the match was all about her, and she would get a normal squash match, have her hand raised. This is what Anna Jay is all about. But then Abadon swooped in and killed her. And this worked for me because in that short promo package, Anna Jay talked about how she was going to have to prove herself in AEW, and then she was murdered. Fantastic stuff. And also, Abadon, she looked great as well. And then we have the debut of Ricky Starks, and his first words in All Elite Wrestling were, I'm absolute Ricky Starks. I'm a former NWA World Television Champion, and I'm the hottest free agent on the market. Boom! That's who he is. That's an introduction. No bells and whistles. That is what it says on the can, or whatever that saying is. And then he went and had a Starks-making performance against Cody. Good stuff all round, and simply based off what we've seen from debuts in All Elite Wrestling in the not too distant past, all WTF moments as well. I've got no idea what I'm doing with my arms anymore. And I don't know why, but simply seeing that tag team record in AEW for the Natural Nightmares, a tag team that is made up of QT Marshall. He is one half of the Natural Nightmares, and that is their tag team record. Nothing against QT Marshall, of course, but seeing that there quite simply made me say, what the f***? Undefeated 5-0, and the biggest WTF moment of this all is the simple realization that the Natural Nightmares are only around 260 matches away from defeating Asuka's undefeated streak. Is the biggest undefeated streak in professional wrestling history. She must be crapping herself. And I don't know why, once again, because we all know Dustin Rhodes is in the best shape of his life. Despite being 165 years old, he wrestles like a 20-year-old. But watching Dustin Rhodes leap off the middle rope and deliver a swinging Hurricane Rana tingy to one Kenneth Omega had me once again saying, what the f***? And once again, you've got to say it, haven't you? Dustin Rhodes is the best advert for DDP Yoga going today. And then during that opening match on last night's Dynamite, and throughout the rest of the show for that matter, I was asking the question, which irresponsible knobhead kept swearing, which meant we kept hearing random bleeps here and there out of nowhere. And those bleeps were mildly off-putting, so they were, and barely worth mentioning here on this video. But this is where we find ourselves, and there we go. I just want to know who it was, and those bleeps that we heard all the way through the show were made a bigger WTF moment when we heard and saw the good Dr. Britt Baker say sugar, honey, ice and tea unbleeped. What's up with that? the Hurricane might have said here. Now I'm going to look past Jim Ross speaking about Abadon's girth, her athletic girth, because that was a bit weird, wasn't it? But that look there, so unbelievably good that it is worthy of a place in these WTF moments because it's that bloody good. I've got to be honest with you, that was the first full match I've seen from Abadon ever, and I was absolutely blown away. But I don't know about you, sometimes in life we have conversations with people in our lives who are not fans of professional wrestling but see the professional wrestling we love, and I reckon if someone who doesn't watch the professional wrestling was to say, Ross Twiddell, who and what is that Abadon woman all about, I would say, well, her gimmick is a hangover. That's what I thought when I saw her on last night's Dynamite, so it was. I don't know why I mentioned that. But now it's time for this.
Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank. Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank.
Hello and welcome back to Wankety Wank, the section of these WTF Moments videos where you, a sexual wank pheasant, tweet me with a WTF moment I have missed from a professional wrestling show, and I give you all the credit just in case it's wrong. But this one is not wrong because this one includes Wikipedia as a source, and as we all know, Wikipedia is the best source of information in the world because anyone can edit it, ensuring you're always getting the best source for the information. I don't know where that accent came from, but thank you to Emmett for tweeting me the evidence that Billy Gunn is 1 year older than The Undertaker. Just looking at Billy Gunn on last night's Dynamite, you would not have thought that was possible, would you? But wow. He is. Now, I fully understand in AEW more than most professional wrestling thingies that referee's discretion is a thing. And I'm sure I've made this sort of thing a WTF moment before, but I've got a huge problem with referee Aubrey Edwards hoofing, kicking MJF right in the arm to get MJF off the ropes. And I mean, we all know that MJF is a Willie, and therefore it's always nice to see Willies getting beaten. But by referees in the midst of a professional wrestling match? No. I just want to see my referees be impartial and call it right down the middle. Ask yourself this question, everybody at home. If Billy Gunn was holding the ropes in a similar fashion to MJF is there, would Aubrey be hoofing Billy Gunn in the arm? Would she? Bollocks. And then we have a direct quote from Jim Ross when he says, and now we got to get over to Alex Marvez, who is standing by with two very sexy men. And I see no lies in what Jim Ross is saying here. That is not why I have made that a WTF moment. I am just rejoicing in the fact that horny Jim Ross from Twitter has wormed his way onto AEW TV. And quite frankly, nobody is safe from horny Jim Ross. And then we see Big Swole, who commandeered the Rolls Royce to abduct the good Dr. Britt Baker. Where to, Doctor? Big Swole asked Britt Baker. This same place Stephanie McMahon was going to. I thought to myself, I don't know about you at home, and I just don't know about you sat at home as well, but I simply cannot wait for the unholy, the dark, whatever demonic phrasing you want to use there. The demonic wedding between Big Swole and Dr. Britt Baker on an upcoming episode of AEW Dynamite. Mike Tyson, unholy weddings, where will they stop? Ripping off the Attitude Era. Billy Gunn was there. Chris Jericho was there. I'll stop. And I was shocked to read a news article following this week's AEW Dynamite saying that Ricky Starks had been signed to an official AEW contract because as far as I could see, right there and there, Ricky Starks, he ceased to exist. He dared. The way he landed on his head in the midst of that crossroads there, and he's presumably alive to tell the tale. Unbelievable, Jeff. And here we have a direct quote from Jim Ross, and I simply cannot tell if he was taking the piss or not. I don't think he was, but if he was, good, quite frankly, because he said the butcher and the blade look like they work in a bakery. That was the butcher and the blade look like they work in a bakery. Butcher, blade, bakery. They work in a butcher's, man, Jim. And then we have Excalibur saying they made Sabian Tombstone pile drive his own opponent. Topicon, hello Excalibur, that's his partner, man. And I've made it perfectly clear during this video alone, but Britt Baker is one of my favourite things about AEW and professional wrestling as a whole, as we're stood here today in June of 2020. But my love and appreciation for Britt Baker hit new levels on last night's AEW Dynamite because she was questioning why cameras were there filming her while she was in a bin, why there was lighting making her bin look very beautiful. And her sentiments there made me feel bloody fantastic after I lost my bananas at the sight of a couple of segments on this week's WWE Raw where I saw superstars having private, secret conversations, even though they must have seen a massive, great big whopping camera filming what they were saying. That's just the way WWE do their business, and this week, more so than ever before, it really bothered me, and it was fantastic to see Britt Baker just taking that bollocks and knocking it out the park. Britt Baker, I love you. I'll round this off just by saying it's my personal taste on professional wrestling show pretending cameras aren't there when they're literally this distance from my camera to me is really, really silly. And we've got to make this potentially the biggest WTF moment in the history of AEWTF moments, as just as Sammy Guevara was getting into his stride during his latest rendition of Fozzie's Judas, they went to a commercial break. And I don't know about your sentiments at home, everybody, but in my opinion, that is unforgivable. Next week, by way of an apology, I am demanding on behalf of wrestling fandom all around the world, AEW, give Sammy Guevara a full segment to give us a lip-syncing concert. Ended, of course, with the main event that is his rendition of Fozzie's Judas. It's the only way you can apologise for that scandalous behaviour, you bastards. And then we have JR saying, well, Trent is clearly the leader of the best friends. And I was sat there asking, where the hell have you got that impression from, Jim Ross? And then we end off these WTF moments for this week's AEW Dynamite with Orange Cassidy wearing different clothes. I know the end has already been nighed during the course of this video, but I think the end has actually been reached right now.
The end is nigh. The end is nigh. Time for the end is nigh.